We'll solve question number 16 to question number 20 of the JAM 2020 chemistry question paper. Let's start with question number 16. The geometries of the species, the tribromonium cation and the tribromide ion and the bromine trifluoride species are. So there are three bromine species given and we have to find their geometries. For finding their geometries, the way to start is by writing their Lewis structures. So let's start by writing the Lewis structures for each of these. Starting with the bromonium cation, first we will have to calculate the total number of valence electrons for this bromonium cation. There are three bromines, 7 valence electrons for each bromine. So we will have 7 multiplied by 3, which is 21. But then there is a positive charge. Electron has been lost. So there is a positive charge. So for that we will have to subtract 1. So we will end up with 20 valence electrons for the tribromonium cation. Now, the next step will be to arrange the bromine atoms. So the best arrangement is this, the 3 bromine atoms in a line. And then once we have arranged them and we have put bonds between them, the next will be to complete the octet for the outer bromine atoms. So we will put a pair of electrons for the outer bromine atoms so as to complete the octet. So for this bromine, there is 2 electrons which is involved in the bond with the neighboring bromine, and then there are 3 lone pair of electrons surrounding this outer bromine. So basically there is 8 electrons here. Similarly, we can put 8 electrons on the other side also of this bromine. So 8 plus 8, together we have 16 valence electrons which has been used, and the remaining 4 valence electrons, they are put on to the central bromine atom. The remaining electrons always goes on the central atom. So we put the remaining 2 lone pairs, basically 4 electrons, that means 2 lone pairs on the central atom, central bromine atom. Now, how do we say the geometry? We now have the Lewis structure. So for geometry, we look at the central atom. The central atom has 2 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs. If you can compare actually this to the water molecule, which also has 2 bond pairs and 2 lone pairs. So water is a bent structure, and similarly this is also a bent structure. You can call it a tetrahedral geometry actually. So there are 4 electron pairs around the bromine. So the best would be, the geometry to describe this would be tetrahedral for the tribromonium cation. Moving on to the tribromide anion. So for the tribromide ion, again we calculate the total valence electrons. Again 7 multiplied by 3, 3 bromine atoms and 7 valence electrons for each bromine. So 7 multiplied by 3, 21. But there is a negative charge on this. So when there is a negative charge, it has an extra electron. We have to put plus 1. So finally we get 22 valence electrons for this tribromide ion. Then again we arrange the atoms in a line. Put 8 valence electrons each for the outer bromine. So 8 here and 8 here. Totally 16 electrons have been gone. Valence electrons have been used up. And the remaining, so 16 from the 22 valence electrons. So the remaining 6 electrons, we put it on the central bromine atom. So the central bromine atom basically takes up the 3 lone pair of electrons. So 3 lone pair, 6 electrons. So 3 lone pair of electrons on the central bromine. So now we have 2 bonded pairs and 3 lone pairs on the central bromine. So the best way of arranging these pair of electrons so as to have the minimum repulsion between them and maximum distance between them is the trigonal bipyramidal arrangement. So the 3 lone pairs in a plane, the 3 lone pairs will be in a plane, the trigonal plane, and the 2 bromine atoms will be on the z axis, one up and below above the plane and below the plane, the 2 bromine. So it's a trigonal bipyramidal arrangement for this tribromide anion. Moving on to the bromine trifluoride species. Again, we will calculate the total number of valence electrons for bromine trifluoride. So there are basically 4 halogens in here, 1 bromine and 3 fluorines. So 7 valence electrons for each. So 7 multiplied by 4 gives you 28 valence electrons. And how do we arrange these 4 atoms? How do we arrange them in a structure? So here what we have to do is we have to take the least electronegative element of the two. Bromine is the least electronegative element. So that element will go in the center. That will be the central atom. And the three fluorines will be arranged around the bromine atom. Okay. So next, so let's look at the Lewis structure for bromine trifluoride. We can arrange the bromine with three fluorines around it, bromine at the center. Then we give octets for the outer fluorine atoms. We give octets for each of the fluorines. So 8 octets, that means 24 valence electrons have been used, and out of the 28 valence electrons, so remaining 4 valence electrons are remaining, that is 2 lone pairs. So that we put it on the central bromine atom, 2 lone pairs. So the central bromine will have 2 lone pairs and 3 bonded pairs. Now what is the best arrangement for having 2 lone pairs and 3 bonded pairs, so as to have minimum repulsion between them? That's again the trigonal bipyramidal arrangement. So you will have in the trigonal plane, you will have 1 bond pair and 2 lone pairs in the trigonal plane, and then above and below the plane you will have 1 fluorine each. So like in that way you will have the least repulsion between the 2 lone pairs, and again the lone pairs and the bond pairs. So again, trigonal bipyramidal is the best arrangement for bromine trifluoride. You can also call it a T-shaped structure. It's a T-shaped molecule. So from the Lewis structures, we figured out that bromonium cation is a tetrahedral arrangement. The tribromide anion is a trigonal bipyramidal arrangement, and the bromine trifluoride is again a trigonal bipyramidal arrangement. So our option C is the correct answer. C is our correct answer. Moving on to question number 17. The cage type structure adopted by boron hydride B5H11 is. So you must have studied about boranes, and you know that there are basically 5 different types of structures. Here we have closo, the nido, the arachno, hypo, and the conjuncto. So for this, I'll show you a trick how to find out which is the structure. Basically, this is how you write. You put BnHn. So the number of boron and the number of hydrogens, you make it the same, and the extra hydrogen you put it as the charge. For example, for B5H11, this is the structure they have given us. So what we do is we put B5H5. So there are 6 extra hydrogens, we remove them, so that will give us 6 minus charge, 6 minus. So which group does it come in? B5H5 6 minus comes in the arachno family. So the given borane is actually an arachno structure. So these you can memorize these 5 different types of structures. The closo, BnHn2 minus, nido is BnHn4 minus, arachno is BnHn6 minus, hypo is BnHn8 minus, and conjuncto is BnHn10 minus. So this is pretty easy to memorize it like this. So you can figure out what the structure is. So the correct answer for this is option D. It is an arachno structure. Moving on to question number 18. The order of the metal carbon bond strength in the following species is. 4 complexes, chromium, manganese, titanium, and cobalt carbonyl complexes have been given. We know that carbonyl is a neutral ligand. Now, what we have to find is that the metal carbon bond, we have to arrange the metal carbon bond in the decreasing order for these 4 complexes. So, which will be the complex with the strongest metal carbon bond? The carbonyl ligand, it donates electron density to the vacant orbitals of the metal, forming the metal carbon sigma bond. The metal also donates its electron density from its filled metal d orbitals to the antibonding pi orbital of the carbonyl ligand. But because the electron density is going to the antibonding orbital, which is much higher in energy, the carbonyl bond is weakened, because when you add electron density in the antibonding orbital, it weakens that bond. So when you add electron density to the antibonding orbital of the carbonyl ligand, the CO bond becomes weak. But at the same time, because electron density is going from the metal to the carbonyl ligand, the metal carbon bond strengthens. So this is the two things which these are the two things which are happening here. The carbonyl donating its electrons to the vacant orbitals of the metal, and the back bonding, that is the metal donating its electron density from its filled d orbitals to the antibonding pi orbital of the carbon ligand, which is called the antibonding. So the more the electron density on the metal, or the more the negative charge on the metal, the more electron density it can donate. The more electron density can go from the metal to the antibonding pi orbital, and the more the metal carbon bond will become stronger. So if you look at that, here the charge is highest on the titanium complex. The titanium is 2 minus. So titanium has the highest charge, followed by the cobalt, followed by chromium actually, and followed by manganese. Manganese is positive. So 3, 4, 1, 2. Option C is our correct answer here. So basically what we have to do is we have to look at the electron density or the charge on the metal, on the transition metal. The more the negative charge, the more it can donate to the antibonding pi orbital of the carbonyl ligand, and the more the metal carbon will become strong. Okay, so let's move on to question number 19. The number of non-bonding electrons present in the frontier molecular orbitals of HF, hydrogen fluoride, is. We have to find out how many non-bonding electrons are present in the frontier molecular orbital of hydrogen fluoride. Here I've shown you the molecular orbital diagram of hydrogen fluoride. You might have studied how to draw the the molecular orbital diagrams for molecules, and here you see hydrogen has just one electron, which is in the 1s orbital, and fluorine, the electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2 and 2p7. The 7 electrons, there is like 2px2, 2py2 and 2pz1. Okay, so there is one unpaired electron in the one of the p orbitals. So the 2s orbital basically is not involved in bonding here, because the 2s cannot actually overlap with or bond, get involved in bonding with 1s, because they have a very high difference in their energy, so they cannot get involved in bonding. But it is this 2p electrons which are actually involved in bonding with the 1s orbital of hydrogen. So the 1s atomic orbital of hydrogen will get involved with the 2p orbital, the orbital which has one electron, and it will form the sigma bonding molecular orbital and the sigma anti-bonding molecular orbital. So 2 electrons in the sigma bonding and 0 electrons in the sigma anti-bonding orbital. So likewise the 2 electrons are used, okay, the bonding to form the bonding orbitals. Now there are 2 lone pairs here in the 2p orbitals. There are 2 lone pairs. Now that will actually go into the non-bonding orbitals. The non-bonding orbitals, if you can see, there is no change in energy from its corresponding atomic orbitals. It's the same energy basically. So that is why they have called the non-bonding orbitals, and they are basically the 2 lone pairs here. So the question is, how many non-bonding electrons are there in the frontier molecular orbitals? Frontier molecular orbitals, as you might have studied, the HOMOs and the LUMOs, the highest occupied molecular orbital and the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Here the highest occupied molecular orbital are these orbitals, which has the lone pair. So basically there are 4 electrons, 2 lone pairs, and the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital is the sigma antibonding orbital, which has 0 electrons. So the answer is 4 electrons. There are the total number of bonding electrons in the frontier molecular orbital is 4, because there is 4 in the HOMO and 0 in the LUMO. So 4, option B is the correct answer. Okay, moving on to question number 20. The coordination number of aluminum ion and the number of bridging hydrogens in aluminum tetrahydroborate is. So we have to find 2 things. One is the coordination number of aluminum, and second is the number of bridging hydrogen atoms. So here I have given you an example of aluminum trihydroborate. This is a very common example, aluminum trihydroborate. If you look at the trihydroborate, you'll see that the coordination number is 6. There are 3 borate ions, 1, 2 and 3, which is arranged around the aluminum, and each borate is bonded to the aluminum via the 2 hydrogens. via the bridging hydrogens. Okay, so likewise each borate is bonded at two coordination sites on the aluminum. So totally this aluminum has 6 coordination number, and there are 6 bridging hydrogens. 6 bridging hydrogens. Now if you add one more hydroborate, tetrahydroborate, if you add one more of that, it will become 8. The coordination sites on aluminum will become 8, and the number of bridging atoms will become 8. Okay, so the correct option is option 8. There the coordination number for tetrahydroborate, this is a trihydroborate. The coordination number for a tetra BH4 tetrahydroborate is 8, and the number of bridging hydrogens will be 8. So option A is the correct answer. Okay,